guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see today, I'm back at my parents' house in DC, and we are at my stepdad's wall of horror. We have his horror DVDs, his horror props, all of that fun Halloween stuff, and I am very, very excited to be here. So today I'm going to be talking about The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. This came out March 16th, 2021, and I found out about it because Monty Reads and E-Town Books on Instagram did like a book club read on it, and they seemed to really, really like it, so I figured why not pick it up. It kind of goes in my little string of the blank man crime thrillers that I've been picking up recently, so let's just add this one to the list. So let me just read the premise for y'all real quick. So it says, on the day she returns to active duty with the Serial Crimes Unit, Detective Inspector Angelica Henley is called to a crime scene. Dismembered body parts from 2 victims have been found by the river. The modus operandi bears a striking resemblance to Peter Olivier, the notorious Jigsaw killer, who has spent the past 2 years behind bars. When he learns that someone is co-opting his grisly signature, the arrangement of victims' limbs in puzzle piece shapes, he decides to take matters into his own hands. As the body count rises, DI Angelica Henley is faced with an unspeakable new threat. Can she apprehend the copycat killer before Olivier finds a way to get to him first? Or will she herself become the next victim? So I find this just a little misleading. It makes it sound like he's called the Jigsaw Killer because he leaves people in like puzzle pieces or like separate pieces. That's not really how it is. It's not really the main guy's signature either. He's called the Jigsaw Killer because he uses a jigsaw, like a saw, on them. So that kind of threw me off a little bit when I was first reading it, so definitely something good to know when you go in at first, but doesn't really take too much out of it. I really enjoyed this. This to me is kind of like a like the Walmart version of Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon kind of thrown together. Olivier really wants to be like a Hannibal Lecter in this, but he's not quite charming or intelligent enough, I feel, and he feels a little superhuman and not so much human throughout the story, which kind of threw me off. Like, I don't think he's meant to be supernatural, but there's definitely some moments where I'm like, there's no way in hell an average person could get from point A to point B like that, or do some of the things that he does. But just minor little things about our main characters that kind of irritated me. I found Angelica Henley, our primary detective, to be a little bit of a hypocritical kind of person. She holds a lot of people to these high moral standards that she doesn't hold herself to, and it just kind of bothered me throughout a lot of the story. But beyond that, I really enjoyed this. I really liked the idea of psychological profiling to try and catch these serial killers. I really liked the way that this author framed the story. I really liked that she did take the route of not just like the new agent coming in to seek advice from the serial killer to help catch another serial killer, which is absolutely the premise of this, but it's so much more in depth, where this detective is the one who originally put our main serial killer behind bars and is now kind of using the fact that there's a copycat killer out there to kind of goad him on to help her. So it's just a very interesting dynamic. I really like the focus on the psychology of our main characters. It really goes in depth to kind of show the difference between our serial killer's motives, our copycat killer's motives, and our main detective's motives kind of being very similar. Like, they're not quite that different when you think about why they're doing the things that they're doing and what they're putting as their highest priorities in their own personal lives. A lot of the story kind of deals with whether Angelica Henley is in the right for putting a job that is saving lives and protecting people above her family, and whether she's right to do that. And I thought that was done very well. I think her internal conflict really does help push and drive the story, as well as the motivations for our 2 serial killers and what causes them to be the way that they are. I think that's done very well in this book. And yes, there's definitely this line between very good and very evil, and then there's a lot of gray in between that makes this book feel very real and relatable. I also love that it was set in London. I don't really know a lot about the London police force apart from the fact that like they're kind of like based in like Scotland Yard as their headquarters. So it was cool to be able to look up like what some of these like slang terms meant and what certain violations were, and like just how their protocol kind of worked. There's definitely some moments where I was like, this person's stabbing you, like why aren't you shooting them? And then I was like, oh my god, London, they have gun control there, like really good gun control there. So like that's why, you know. And it definitely made being a cop more of a challenge in this case. Like, there's a lot of mystery solving in this book that I really, really liked. And it's not like this big twist ending that kind of comes out of nowhere and you're like, what? I didn't see that. They really lay the breadcrumbs out for you to follow, and it's very believable, and it makes a lot of sense, and it lines up very well and neat. And I just liked that it wasn't this crazy twist ending that you didn't really see coming. It was very believable. It felt very realistic. And just like Tana French's In the Woods, it focused more on the psychology of our characters than it did the actual story. The story was still extremely compelling, but I did like the balance of these are real people doing these things and trying to solve these things, as well as this is the mystery at hand. And I thought that was handled very, very tactfully. And I really liked Nadine Matheson's writing style. It felt very quick, easy to read. You really wanted to be involved. I never got bored with this book. I just wanted to keep reading and figure out what exactly was going on. While I don't think the characters were necessarily I don't think our detectives were necessarily people I would want to hang out with. I did like reading about them. I didn't necessarily think they were the most likable people, but I did enjoy reading about them, and I think that's very, very important. And I did like that Nadine Matheson decided to go with a female lead. She's a very, very strong, independent woman who has been very successful at her job, and that's so refreshing to see. I really, really like seeing that our lead is a female. It's not like a female with a male partner. Her male partner is actually a trainee, so it really is a focus on this one. While I don't necessarily think I will be going to a bar and hanging out with this type of person anytime soon, I did really like reading about her, and I thought she was a very, very strong female lead. The ending was a little I was very happy with the results. I kind of liked how it was very misleading, and as you were reading it, it felt kind of like you were in a movie, seeing these different perspectives, and it was really cool and interesting. And then it just gets kind of weird cliffhanger thing where you're open to interpretation of what actually happens at the end, and that kind of annoyed me. I really wish it had been just fully wrapped up in a bow. The whole mystery is fully wrapped up in a bow, so you don't get and we don't actually know who did it, right? I hate when they do that, but the actual mystery of the Jigsaw Man and the copycat is fully finalized by the end. But it's more of on a personal level of our main characters, where their kind of fates are left up in the air and you don't quite know what's going on with them. That kind of always, I don't really care. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is I don't particularly care to have that left on a cliffhanger. Now, I believe this is going to be book 1 in a series about Angelica Henley, so the fact that it does kind of land on a cliffhanger about her kind of makes sense to me, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest person into series, so I would have been fine if this was just done, over with, whatever. But you can read this as a standalone, I feel. I think it's a pretty strong read. Again, 4 stars, really fun, really captivating. Not the most unique thing I've read, but definitely a great, great read. Again, quick, easy, you get all the answers that you want. I will say it's very gory, it's very graphic, but not in a way where it's body horror and disgusting to be disgusting. The gore and graphic nature of this novel is used as a plot device to further what is happening and to really explain the extent of what our 2 serial killers are doing and where they are and how they're kind of competing with one another. So it felt very unsettling, but necessary. I don't like gore for gore's sake. I don't like anything super graphic and unnecessary just for the gross out factor. I think that's kind of cheap horror. Unlike a slasher where you're going in expecting it to be over the top, then you get kind of the Nick Cutter just gross body horror just to make you uneasy. I don't like that kind of horror. I've talked about that before, but no, this is graphic, but it's graphic with a purpose, and I think it serves that purpose very, very well. Anyway, if you are into crime thrillers, I definitely highly, highly recommend this. It is no Chestnut Man, but it is a great, great read, and I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, 4 stars. It was very close to getting a 5-star read, but it did kind of peter off towards the end, so what can you do? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday. If you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah.